Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph, and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. Yesterday, I went to a coin show, and I picked up a whole lot of coins that fit into all kinds of different series that I'm starting to collect. So, without wasting any more time, let me show you what I've got. Congratulations to John Motters Zajewski for being my first comment. Thank you so much for your support. Y'all find him down below in the comment section and start up a conversation. Alright, so we're going to start with the bullion, so quarter ounces and then tenth of an ounce. Here I got these 2 quarter ounce dragons. Y'all know how much I love dragons. This is the 2012 and 2024 designs of these quarter ounce dragons. Clearly, these are a part of my quarter ounce gold collection now, but also a part of my dragon collection. So these two, I also have the 5 ounce silver, equivalents, the 2024 and 2012 versions of these dragons. I collect these in 5 ounce silver, half ounce silver, and now quarter ounce gold. And I do have one 10th ounce gold dragon. Who knows, maybe someday I'll end up with the entire set of every size coin that they made of all these dragons. But for now, I've got 5 ounce silver, half ounce silver, 10th ounce gold, and quarter ounce gold. And I actually do have that 10th ounce gold right here, so you can see when it's both gold, they have the same design. Those are both 2024. And I did end up getting another quarter ounce gold. This one was a Type 1 American Eagle. So here's this one. It actually does have the Roman numerals, but here's my Type 2. The finish on the Type 1 looks honestly way better. I'm not sure if the quality went down a little bit for the Type 2, but someone might know a little bit better. Look at the Type 1 right there on the left. It just looks way more refined. Let me try to zoom in to see these Roman numerals here. You can see in the date section around what would be 3:30 to 4 o'clock, as if this was a clock. You can see those Roman numerals, and all the way at the end, you have 3 eyes, which means this is 1988. The 3rd year issue, I believe the last one to have Roman numerals. But that will complete my American quarter ounce typeset. So now I have Type 1 and Type 2. And then we'll start with the 1/10 ounce that I bought. We're going to start with the Australian. So I did get a kangaroo, a nugget, and I'm not sure what this square coin is called, but I did get this square 1/10 ounce from Australia as well. So these both look like they're kangaroos. However, at the nugget, which is an earlier series, it actually says Australian nugget, where this one says Australian kangaroo. Here's the Australian nugget. They started out with the Australian nugget, and it had a gold nugget on it, and later they moved to the kangaroo design, and then eventually they started a whole new series of the Australian kangaroo. So the nugget and the kangaroo are actually 2 different series. And this looks like it's Australia and the United States. Somewhat of a commemorative, possibly. I'm going to have to learn a lot more about this square coin specifically. But it is a 10th ounce of gold, and it's a different series than what I have here. So we have the Australian nugget, the Australian kangaroo, the Perth Mint lunar calendar year, and now this square coin. All different types from Australia. Really, they're all different series. The 3 on the bottom that I just bought yesterday all have the same portrait of the queen, so it could be considered the same type. However, because they're from different series, I think they'll count as different types from the standpoint of my 1/10 ounce typeset challenge. Here's a closer look at the portraits. You can totally tell they're all exactly the same. Until we get to the lunar year, that is a new portrait, a different one. So it's possible to get different ones within all from Australia, but here we have all the same portraits just from different series. But we'll go ahead and move on from that. Next up, I did get a 1/10 ounce gold Austrian Philharmonic. So this is a coin from Austria in 4/9 fine that features the Philharmonic band. You see there's a French horn, a bassoon, a harp. It looks like maybe a bass and some violins. And then on the other side is the piano, the orchestra that is part of that Philharmonic. And you see on the bottom, this is from 2021, so it does say 10 euros instead of the shillings counterpart. This would be technically type 2 because there was the change of denomination that accounts for two different types. And I'm actually a brass musician, so I love to see these instruments on gold. Just such a beautiful coin. But next up, we have another 1/10 ounce gold coin. We'll actually go to the Chinese Panda. The Chinese Panda is a pretty interesting series. So they started in 1982, and they're actually the only 24 karat coin that is 3 nines instead of 4 nines. So originally Canada made their Canadian maple in 3 nines fine gold, and then changed in 1982 into 4 nines fine gold. And that's actually when China started their series in 1982, and they kept it in 3 nines gold ever since. So it's an interesting specific thing about the purity, but I do know that the 3 nines fine Canadian maple is a little bit less valued than the 4 nines fine, so that small preference in purity might make a difference when trying to sell this Chinese Panda. And speaking of the Canadian maple, I did pick up one of those as well yesterday. It came in this original government packaging, so I'm probably going to keep it in it, but I might cut it open to put it into an airtight capsule. So now between this and the other 1/10 ounce that I have two different types. Here it is here. You can see that this earlier portrait of Queen Elizabeth on the 1997. In addition, that one is a reverse proof. Let's go ahead and open this thing up so you can get a closer look at this coin. I feel like the capsule's kind of scratched up. There we go. So you can see this 2009 is the older portrait, or the portrait of an older Queen Elizabeth, where she's younger in the 1997 portrait. And those are the two different types that I have now of the Canadian maples. The other side, the maples, of course, they look almost exactly the same, other than the fact of the finish. Again, the 1997 is a reverse proof with a privy, but I'm not using those identifiers as a different type, just the different portrait on the obverse of these coins. That was all of the different types that I could find at the coin show. So I also picked up this 2025 American Eagle. And who knows, I might end up with one of each year of these 1/10 ounce coins. That would be quite a collection of them. And honestly, I'm a little excited to do it. So after this 1/10 ounce challenge, I might end up trying to go for a full date run of these 1/10 ounce gold Eagles. But we'll see where that goes. I'm excited that I got to pick up the 2025. But that actually does it for the 1/10 ounce gold. So next up we have the Circulated gold. One of my favorite series when it comes to gold is the 20 francs, part of the Latin Monetary Union. So I picked up this 10 franc and this here 20 franc. One is from Switzerland and the other is from France. I also picked up a quarter eagle and a half eagle, both Indian head. This is one of my favorite designs in pre-33, so I was just super excited to see these and find them, and I got them for a really good price, as well as this dos pesos. I had just enough at the end of the day to add this to my purchase list, and I love these dos pesos. They're in such a great purchase range. I feel like I might start stacking these a little bit more, but this is the only the second one that I have. So now that I've gone through everything that I bought gold-wise, let's go ahead and take a look at my progress in my 1/10 ounce typeset collection. So we'll go ahead and lay these all out and see what countries I have them from and go from there. All right, they're all laid out here. I've got 14 1/10 ounce gold coins. We've got Canada, America, then Australia. From there, looks like Mexico, South Africa, China, and Austria. So that's 7 different countries, and stage 1 of my typeset challenge says at most 5 different countries. So we'll see if we can still make 10 with taking out these countries that only have one example. That leaves us with 4 countries, but we do have some duplicates here. Like America, we only need 2 of them for type 1 and type 2. And South Africa only made 1 design. And then here in Australia, we talked about the different portraits. We're just going to count these all as 4 different designs for now. So it looks like I have 9. And then if I add 1 from a different country, let's say the panda, that'll be 10 from 5 different countries. So I've succeeded in filling out this typeset. However, if you believe that all of the different Australians would count as one type, then I may need to get another one in a different type so that I can fill out the 10 coins. These 3 are all different series, but the same portrait. I could see how someone could say that the nugget and kangaroo might be only considered one of the different types. So if that's the case, I would really only be 1 coin away. However, I do have some other countries, so it looks like I'm getting closer to actually completing the tier 2. I'll go ahead and just keep working on that, and anytime I add to either of these countries, then that'll complete tier 1 at the same time. Let's go ahead and put these 1/10 ounces away, and we can start talking about my 1/4 ounce typeset. And since I only had 1 1/4 ounce before this, and I bought 3 1/4 ounces yesterday, that means now I have 4. So I have the American Eagle type 1 and type 2, and these 2 dragons. So altogether, I have 1 ounce made up in 1/4 ounces. And again, I'm just really starting to love this 1/4 ounce size. So I'm probably going to be stacking these quite a lot more, once I finish my 10th ounce journey. But we'll see how it goes. All right, so that does it for gold. We'll go ahead and move on to the silver that I bought at the show. And I was really prioritizing older silver, except for, this one piece. I'll go ahead and start with it. This is a 1943 Australian florin. So florin is the equivalent of 2 shillings. And I don't have very many 2 shillings or any florins. And I don't have much Australian, and there wasn't really any Australian at the show. So when I saw this, I just thought it was super cool. I love the kangaroo and emu with the shield. And of course, 1943 being in the middle of World War II, it's just a pretty cool date. Australian was still making sterling silver coins at the time. So this is sterling silver. I'll have to look up the weight and find out exactly how much silver that is. But it's just a really cool one that I added. Next up, I have these thalers. So these thalers were minted in 1780 and actually were restriked with the same date, 1780, all the way up until today. So you see I have one really nice example, probably I wouldn't say really nice, but one where you can see all the details, and then another that looks like it was completely circulated, probably a authentic coin from the 1700s. Even the later restrikes after 1780 weren't circulated, so those ones were kept in very nice condition. Since this one is in a circulated condition, I'm more inclined to say that it was actually circulated in 1780. The original Austrian and German thalers from the 1500s were what sparked the idea of these large-sized silver coins in the first place. So this is part of a series that is a bit of a precursor to the 8 reales, which is the precursor to the dollar. So this fits into the narrative of what became the US dollar. And here in the close-up look, you can get a good idea of the details that are on this coin. Here is the 4 ducat that I have, also from Austria. You can see the similarities in the double-headed eagle holding the shield. The 4 ducat, it looks like they're holding royal crown and something else there, a sword. over on the other foot of the eagle, and on the silver, they're not holding anything, which is interesting. There's all kinds of symbology and everything into that. But here we have Maria Theresa, and then this emperor here on the gold. So I just think it's super cool to see these two coins next to each other, very similar in size and design, even though the 4 ducat is about half an ounce of gold, where the thaler or thaler is closer to 3/4 of an ounce of silver. And then, of course, seeing the circulated version next to it is just super cool, seeing where all the wear patterns are, as well as just what a newer version looks like against an older, worn-out version. But like I said, these were kind of the beginning of the large silver coins, and you could say that they inspired the Spanish colonies to mint these coins here, the 8 reales, which actually became the standard trade size coin across the entire world. So the Mexican City Mint made this. This is from 1737 and 8 reales. And Mexico became a huge hub for silver coins, not only because they're so rich in silver, but also because the entire purpose of Christopher Columbus's journey that eventually found the Americas was to find a better trade route to India. Well, that trade route ended up going through Mexico with the mintage of these coins. These coins eventually made their way all the way from Mexico to India and China, then back to Mexico, and eventually over to Spain. So these became the centered, almost a world currency that everyone strived to go towards. And it actually became the basis of the US dollar, and that's where these come in. The US dollar was defined by a very specific alloy in 1792 that was created by assaying all of those 8 reales at the time. That alloy was used all the way until 1837, which is included in this design here, this capped bust. This one specifically is from 1827, so this is 1 year away from being a 200-year-old coin. A nearly 200-year-old coin that fits the exact parameters of what was originally defined as a dime or $half in this case by the Coinage Act of 1792. So this one is actually a die variety. This is the 1827/6. So you can see here just behind that 7, it has a little bit of a tail that would have remained from where the 6 would have been. So, of course, that means that it is a little bit more valuable than just the regular date. Since I ended up paying significantly more for that tiny little mark, I'll go ahead and point it out right here with my pen. You can see right at the tip of my pen there, a little bit of tail coming out behind that 7. Also, I'm not hugely into the die varieties and all that when it comes to collecting coins, but this one was within the grade range and price range that I wanted to pay for these $half, and that just means that as I get other ones, I'm probably just going to be able to get much nicer condition ones. So I'm excited to fill out this set and really just excited about this coin overall. This capped bust series had the $half, quarter, dime, and half dime. So as far as a typeset goes, I do have 2 of the 4. And that is it for the silver that I bought at the show yesterday. I'm moving a lot more into numismatics with the way that the silver price is. I feel like numismatics are on discount. If you look at the numismatic to silver ratio, I guess you could call it, it would be that it's coming down quite a lot because silver is going up so much that these are no longer the same amount of silver cost, if you were to think of it that way. So since I did just make this massive silver to gold trade, I'm going to be reevaluating my portfolios, probably making a whole other video series recounting my silver and gold holdings. So look out for that video coming soon. And of course, like, comment, subscribe. But most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up. So no matter how small, just keep stacking.